the shy superhero. Leo loved superheroes. He had comic books stacked high in his room, posters of caped heroes on his walls, and a homemade red cape that he wore almost every day. But there was one thing that made Leo different from the superheroes he admired. He was incredibly shy. At school, he barely spoke above a whisper. When the teacher called on him, his face turned red and his words got stuck. At recess, he sat on the swings alone, watching the other kids play. He wanted to join them, but his shyness always held him back. Leo often wished he had superpowers, something that could make him brave. One morning, Leo's teacher, Mrs. Martinez, had an exciting announcement. "We're putting on a class play for family night," she said cheerfully, "and this year's theme is superheroes." The classroom buzzed with excitement. Leo's heart pounded. A superhero play? That sounded amazing. But then Mrs. Martinez added something that made his stomach twist. "I'd love for some of you to audition for the lead superhero role." Leo gulped. There was no way he could stand in front of everyone and perform. He couldn't even answer a question in class without feeling nervous. His best friend Ethan nudged him. "You should try out, Leo. You love superheroes more than anyone." Leo shook his head. "No way. I'd freeze." That afternoon, as Leo put his books into his backpack, he noticed a small folded note inside. Curious, he opened it. "Superheroes aren't fearless. They're just people who act bravely despite their fears. See you at auditions." Leo looked around, but he had no idea who had written it. His hands trembled as he held the note. Could he really do it? That night, he read his favorite comic book about Captain Valor, a hero who wasn't the strongest or fastest, but the bravest when it counted. Maybe, just maybe, Leo could try. The next day, Leo walked into the auditorium, his heart hammered in his chest. Kids were reading lines, pretending to fly, and showing their best superhero poses. Mrs. Martinez smiled. "Leo, would you like to give it a try?" Leo froze. Everyone was looking at him. Then he felt something soft and familiar. His red cape tucked inside his pocket. He squeezed it and took a deep breath. "Superheroes aren't fearless," he whispered to himself. "They act bravely despite their fears." Leo stepped forward. He read his lines. His voice shook at first, but with each word he felt stronger. He struck a heroic pose and imagined himself as Captain Valor. When he finished, the room was silent. Then, "Applause!" Mrs. Martinez beamed. "Leo, that was incredible." Leo got the part. Over the next few weeks, he practiced every day. At first, his voice still trembled, but little by little, his confidence grew. On the night of the play, the auditorium was packed with parents, students, and teachers. Backstage, Leo felt butterflies in his stomach. He peeked out at the crowd and saw his mom, dad, and little sister all smiling proudly. Then Ethan whispered, "You got this, Leo." Leo took a deep breath. He stepped onto the stage. The lights were bright. The crowd was silent. Then he spoke his first line, loud, clear, strong. He became the superhero he had always dreamed of being. The audience cheered. After the play, Leo's mom hugged him tight. "I'm so proud of you. You were amazing." Ethan grinned. "I knew you had it in you." Leo smiled. He realized something important that night. Superpowers weren't about flying or lifting buildings. They were about facing fears, believing in yourself, and stepping forward even when you were scared. From that day on, Leo still loved superheroes, but he also knew something even better. He was one. The end.